building.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would think so.
we're going to start the meeting. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Dover Select Board meeting for Tuesday, June 15th. It is now 6:31. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Are there any public comments? Jeanette?
I just wanted to, in light of the governor's relaxing the restrictions or lifting the restrictions,
Yeah.
there was some information I printed out about the open meeting law, and so I don't know if they still recommend having remote
Access.
for the public and or board members can still do it remotely as well. But I didn't know if you wanted to consider moving back to the town office and hold meetings there.
Well,
You can consider that.
what does the board think? Do we want to continue to have them here or have it at the town office? Joe? I'm acknowledging you. Thank you, Joseph.
So, for the time being, I think this is a better setup. You know, let's rethink it after 2 more meetings,
Yeah.
see how things are going. That's my
Scott.
personal belief.
Where since the governor lifted the COVID restrictions now, where the question came up, did we want to move back to the town office for our meetings instead of staying here? And what this side of the table is saying is maybe stay here for at least a few more meetings.
Perfect. Whatever. I'm fine with either anyway. Let you guys go.
Yes, Jeanette?
So I think Dan
Well, you had your hand up.
I agree.
Okay.
I was just thinking, as far as Tabby and I go, it's a lot easier to have this set up at the town office where it can be left. Whereas this, every meeting, we have to come in, Tabby has to come in and set this whole thing up. So, just saying, it's a little.
What if we do this? Is have the next meeting here and announce in the minutes at this meeting and in the minutes at that meeting that we're going to be moving to the town office 2 meetings from now.
I mean,
That's fine.
And that gives people ample notice,
notice,
I think.
whatever.
That way there they can air any, if they don't think it's a good idea, we can put it in the minutes that we're gonna be moving as of the middle of July.
the second July meeting. Okay.
Well, yes,
And
the
there's-
first July meeting. No, you're right, second July meeting.
Second.
We'll have the first July meeting here.
And that this building is probably gonna start getting used more often to make it easier.
Right.
So give everyone fair warning, I like that.
Okay.
The town does.
So we're agreed that we'll have our next meeting here, but include in the minutes,
Yep.
and perhaps even on the town website, that we're going to be moving back to the town office as of the second July meeting.
Perfect.
But we are going to be doing our employee reviews here this Friday.
But we are still gonna be doing Zoom.
And the state is encouraging boards and groups to continue to offer the remote option. So I think until we reach a point when it's really not being used.
One thing
Yes, Joe?
that the state has said is that you need to have in-person meetings.
Yes.
We've been doing that all along, so we've been following
Yeah,
A physical location.
there has to be a physical location where there would be somebody official. Okay.
I have,
That hasn't been, the physical location part isn't going to go away. But we're talking about what to do about Zoom, and I think for now, we're just gonna leave that alone.
And I think that having the Zoom allows some people who might not be easily available to come to a physical meeting, gives them more of an opportunity to actually participate if they can. If they are housebound or if it's late or difficult or whatever. I think it
Yeah.
opens up the meetings to more of the community, so.
And if board members can't necessarily be in town, they can still participate. So that also gives us that
Yeah.
availability. Did you want to say something?
yeah, I just want to apologize that it didn't make the executive session because I had ticks all over me and wound up in the hospital getting a doxycycline drip, but I'm okay.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Good to know.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, then we will move on to The assessor extending the contract for Linda Kersten, and, so Linda Sherman, did you want to talk about that for us?
I would. I need to extend Linda's hours based on, we filed an extension to lodge the grand list. So I'm looking to extend on an as-needed basis to the end of August. We sort of came up, grievance hearings, if any appeals to the Board of Civil Authority. Just want to make sure all the bases are covered.
Okay.
So I'm looking to the end of August.
Okay. And we're looking at,
And not 20 hours a week. I will add that. Just on an as-needed.
okay, well, what's your letter, or you're saying rate of $40 per hour, up to 20 hours per week, up to 16 weeks? Or is that the original?
That's the original.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's
So-
asking us to sign this,
Oh,
yeah.
no, that was just a copy of the contract.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have anything, I didn't know if you were in it.
We need an amended contract to sign?
I didn't do anything about the contract because I felt that this was sort of different.
Well, we need to either write a new contract or amend this one,
Okay.
because this one says, it commences on 3/16 and ends in 16 weeks.
Right.
So we need to just, and there's a maximum dollar amount in here.
I will amend it or make an extension.
Okay.
The original?
Joseph?
Can we get something in writing from you for next meeting so we can sign a contract for Linda? So
Absolutely.
let's table this, is that okay? Can you still
That's
keep
fine.
working and do it the proper way as opposed to talking about trying to amend something? Put in exactly what you want. Assume that you have money in your budget going into the next fiscal year that will cover this and the reason why, and you should be able to sign it for next week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. If you, because this limits you to a total of $12,800, this contract.
Right.
So we want to amend that. So would you either take this and amend it to what it should say, or at least get the language to Jeanette? Did you originally prepare this contract?
No,
You did.
Linda.
Okay, so if the two of you together could come up with the appropriate language and provide us with an amended copy of this for the next meeting, then we
I
can,
apologize for not coming with something in writing. The actual thought of that never entered my mind. I'm totally discombobulated.
well, from now on,
I won't say nothing.
everything in writing. Okay? So we'll bring this, we'll put this on for unfinished business for next week, or next meeting.
Next time.
Next meeting.
Thank you.
And then Linda Kersten provided us with a letter regarding the commercial appraisal program.
I just found some typos, so I apologize. I'm so sorry. Some tenses and stuff which were really wrong.
Does it change the communication of, I mean, did you type something that makes it a contradiction to what you wanted to say, or is it just?
No,
Okay,
it's a
all right.
grammar thing. It's a grammar thing.
Okay,
It's, IR, also and/or yes, really.
okay.
I know better.
That's all right.
Because it was originally we are. And then,
Okay.
Anyway, you all had a chance to read it?
Yes,
Any
I,
questions about it? Because I'm quite willing to, answer any of your questions if you have some concerns about this.
I'm struggling a little bit just because this is, one of these three options has to happen. Is that what you're saying to us?
One of those three options should happen.
Okay.
It doesn't have to, but it should.
What happens if we don't choose any of them?
Hey, it's basically falls on your court to have a grand list which is faulty, incomplete, and just damn plain wrong.
Okay.
The, as far as the commercial is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
the easiest option and is to do that software program. It's good for a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hell of a lot less money than hiring a commercial appraiser.
Mhm.
However, know that the commercial appraiser would do, with regard to Mount Snow, would do an intensive appraisal, which would mean visiting every single building, taking pictures, doing measurements and stuff like that. You know, tooling up and down the mountain on a ATV or whatever, to hit every single place on the mountain. They get paid big bucks for that, and I don't like them.
Right,
I really do,
understood.
You know, so we do have some history. I do have a contact on the mountain who will help me, get the rest of the information that I need.
Mm-hmm.
Vail itself is very uncooperative. Didn't feel that they had to provide anything for us, but I can go around them a little bit. And I think that an updated assessment of Mount Snow is really critical.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long, too many changes have occurred on the mountain, and it really, really affects your bottom line. That's a lot of money. You know, we're not talking about 100,000 here, 50,000 there. We're talking about millions.
Do you think they're significantly undervalued right now?
Significantly, rough number, from what we can tell, comparing the Peaks prospectus to go public with their stock thing and some of the other numbers for sales and stuff, probably about 15 million off.
Okay. So what's the board's, Joe?
So, if our assessor's office can come up with that you believe, and you have documentation that we're 15 million off,
That's an estimate only, Joe.
right, I'm just saying,
Okay.
okay? Understand it's sold, things have changed in the industry. I'm confused why our assessor's office, after the sales occurred, things have cleared, we've had some time to look at it. Have we raised the value of the total Mount Snow at all?
It's not
It's
a.
something you can't
it-
do.
It's not a, let me put it in simple terms. Mount Snow sold for $100 million, for argument's sake. It wasn't that high, but let's just use
Right.
round numbers. So Mount Snow sold for $100 million, and you bring that number back to your files. Number one, there's too many rules and regulations. Number one, you cannot enter $100 million in the grand list as the value of the thing, even though you know that that's what the sale price is. The state hollers at you because you're chasing sales. The state wants you to calculate each one of those buildings separately, create a total, and that would be your thing, your new value. That being said, the files themselves, there are about 40 separate files. And at some point, as I explained in the letter, and around the time of the reappraisal in 2010, someone slavishly decided to follow the state's guidelines and merge them all into about 5 files. There's no way to separate them out, to separate those values out, because there's no tracking what those values were that were entered for each entity within those files. So it requires doing each one anew. then merging the files that make sense to merge.
So for this year, we can't
For this year, we're stuck.
do anything.
For this,
So my question to you
yeah,
is, can we do something within our department? If you are to stay on and work within our department with Linda, without incurring a large cost, get a better value for that for next year?
yes, that's what I'm
Okay, so
saying.
that's,
I don't
that's what I'm
want-
trying to get to. Yes, we know we're behind the 8 ball for this year,
Yeah,
and I understand, but what you're saying is to provide the service, and you're internally here, than us try to find someone outside, because my thing is, and I've been on the board for many, many years, is it costs us a lot to fight if there's something back where you're here, she's here, we start, those people's gotta come in to, fight that assessment. If Fail does that, they got a lot more dollars than we wanna spend for that extra, the extra money. So I think in
yeah,
your department, something to look at for us in the next month or two is a procedure to clean that up, because it is the largest taxpayer within our town. And we need to be able to fluctuate and give them,
understand it's not possible to clean up the files the way they are now.
well, we
You have
gotta,
to start anew,
and that's what we're gonna do.
and that's where we are.
That's what we gotta do.
And that's really where that software comes into place, because then each entity can be dealt separately, and then we can convert some of those, then put some of those entities together into the ProVal software, but listing them separately instead of combining them. All the values in the loan. So it will be, the different buildings will be separately valued, grouped where it makes logic for them to be grouped, and a separate file for another group which doesn't make any logic. So, like the golf course is a great example. It's not separate. Really? Why not? The lodges, the base lodge and all that kind of, but everything was just, the land was, there were like 6 different things for land, and they were all just put together regardless of where they were.
Are some of the parcels, are they all in the same name, or are they in different company?
They're all in the same name.
They're all in the same
They're all
company
the
name,
name.
same
That's
entity?
why-
Okay.
That's why the state said you have to merge them. But I checked with the other agencies I noted in the letter, and they have not merged them. They said, no, the hell with you. They didn't. Stratton specifically, kowtows to them a little bit, keeps them separately, but manually totals them up and throws them in an entry, and let's go that way. But you've got to get the entries correct.
right.
Okay.
Okay, Dan?
In your experience, when these resorts are sold,
I'm sorry, can you speak up a bit?
in your experience or knowledge base, when these resorts are sold, these big number of things, do the municipalities, when they divide it up the way the state wants it, benefit from it in general?
Whether or not the state wants it merged or separate, if they wanted it separate, they don't anymore. It makes no difference to the town, the value is a value, but it has to be a correct value. Sometimes in the sale of a ski area, for example, or whatever, part of it's a stock sale, part of it's something else. It's very difficult to bring it down into just real estate. We're not allowed to do ski lifts and, that kind of stuff anymore. So, you have to separate that stuff out and bring in the buildings, and the land. And whether, you can't predict whether or not it would affect, it benefits the town or not.
Linda?
One of the hardest pieces is there's no property transfer tax returns. So when these,
Businesses, entities,
right, when they exchange and transfer, they don't have to pay tax to the state like I would if I were to purchase a house.
Right.
Or whatever. So it
that
makes
is
it
true.
really hard to know, especially this last transaction, which contained, I forget how many other areas. There were several in this one lump sum. So we really have no way of knowing, and no one's gonna divulge what was, given to each area. So for this software piece, I just wanted to say a good example, when the maintenance building burned, I dug through the files and happened to find a value for that maintenance building that I was able to pull off that lump sum. Well, pretty soon, in a year or so, we're gonna need to be adding that back in, and it would just be a good way to enter into using this. And it's really kind of a segue into, I think, townwide reappraisal. So you're gonna hear that from me for a while.
and obviously you've heard it from me in the letter too. I have to say that using 2010 tables, so, even in the instance where you have sales, and you go in and on ProValue, you have to value it using 2010 tables. You have to jerry-rig that program to be able to go to where it should go.
Right.
Because it won't go there automatically.
Right.
And that's kind of self-defeating. And
Okay.
it takes a long time. Very time-consuming.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just some quick clarification. So I know you said you think the best solution is to hire that person that would go through there, and that would be like 43,000 to 46,000, something along those lines. Yep. Do you think like our return on investment for that 46,000, is that going to give us more solid footing when VIII has their big corporate, the money behind it to try and push in
When
here,
we get
push their weight?
when we get an appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do we?
You have to assume a couple of things, and your assumption, in a letter back, in an email that I got back from a gentleman at VIII, he says, we never divulge our numbers. I thought, oh, isn't that nice, so you don't know where the numbers are. You don't know, they could have altered their numbers artificially, for accounting purposes. I mean, I've seen some incredible things done in one project that they've done for accounting purposes just to make the bottom line look different. So when someone appeals, you have to have the best information that you can about those buildings, those structures, that land. The method using the software, and for me to do it, is limited, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That doesn't mean, even though the state requires it, that we go to 100%, that we think is 100%. We back off that. The state doesn't like us doing it anyway, which is contradictory to what the instructions are. So what it comes down to is that, yes, that formal appraisal will get up-to-date condition and quality reports about the individual buildings.
Don't sign them.
Does that materially affect what I can do? Probably not by much. Of course, in this instance, we're talking about millions anyway. So maybe I'm off by a couple million or 10 million. It's a lot of money in my pocket, I think. But when it comes to the size of Mount Snow and the reach of Mount Snow in our community with all the structures and the buildings and this housing and stuff that being purchased, it really doesn't amount to much.
Thank you. I'm trying to just wrap my head around this. So if we went with number 3, would we then forego all the others? Like, would we not get that $1,500 Marshall Swift software, or would that be in addition?
No, that would not be, no.
Okay.
But number 3, which is the professional appraisal, that's just the professional appraisal, that's who you're dealing with, that's who's going to be coming in and, working for a few months.
And that person would have their own version of the software that they would be using to do the
Marshall Swift
valuation.
too, right?
Yeah, but we wouldn't have to buy it for them to use, they would use their own.
Marshall Swift.
So,
You,
so like 1 to 2 months for you to work on it, plus the software,
Yeah,
or
it's not, the software, the CoreLogic Marshall Swift software is relatively easy to use. We've used it before in town.
Okay.
We have, I think you've got an example maybe. Did you find an example? Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I thought I put an example of what it looked like in there. It's a relatively simple software to use. The cost for the professional ski area appraiser doesn't come from using the software. He probably has, employees to it. It's relatively simple. He's just gathering the information,
sure.
upfront and personal.
But we could wait. It's time frame 7 to 16 months. So we could be waiting like another year or whatever for this to happen, though.
Well, with the professional ski appraiser, you're probably going to be waiting more than that, 2 years, 2 years,
Oh,
3
that's
years
in
maybe.
7 to 16 months. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So then, don't really have another option, right?
well,
And, it's always, it's always, for as many as years as the town has existed and as many years in the future as it's going to exist, it's always available. So if in 5 years or 10 years you decide, this is just not working this way, we need a thing, then you always have that option.
okay. So, so your recommendation was number 2?
My recommendation as being the most cost-effective for the town, as close as possible, given the limitations of not going visiting every single building, as close as possible to developing the value for the ski area. Also in considering the time frame. It's even when I started, in March or anything, if I for some reason I left Mount Snow to the end, because it was the most files, and I wanted to clear the decks first and look at that. But if I had started that in March, we'd be taking a longer extension because I wouldn't have been through the other files, as we are now going into the checking process. I don't regret that decision.
Okay.
Deleting it.
So, and the last line is, the recommendation would be in extending it to the rest of the commercial properties for the 21-20 tax year. Did you mean 21-22?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
That's another one of my letters. Yeah.
That's okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't 2021, because
No,
that's already,
No.
that's ending in like 2 weeks.
No, and again, we do have, on the other commercial properties, we have the data, we have the sketches, we have the, all of that stuff. It's a real simple matter plugging that in, real simple.
Okay, so, So-
it would be done with it would be done with 2021 cost tables.
Okay, so
Their tables are updated every quarter.
okay, so you're looking at, if we went with option 2, having the reappraisal done in time for the, not the coming tax bill, but the following tax bill.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you think we're at a higher or equal risk of what's the word I'm searching for? Of them grieving?
Well, if we're talking about this year, they haven't grieved. in-
No, I'm not, I mean, this year, because this year's done,
Oh, this
basically.
year's done. He's talking about next year.
I'm talking about once
What are the
this is
odds of them
done.
grieving? What are their odds of them grieving?
Are we going to be at a greater risk of grieving with option 2 than option 3? Or is it going to be 6 of 1?
It's just gonna
It's
be
even
on,
money.
it's just gonna be on the
Okay.
value that we put on it. If they think it's too high, they're
And in
gonna
fact,
Right,
yeah.
but I guess what I'm getting at is if we paid for a professional commercial appraiser, would we have better ammunition going into a grieving?
I personally do not believe that.
Okay,
You would, there's probably only one instance where you would have better ammunition, and that is if it went to court. Other than that,
okay,
you know, and then your professional appraiser would have to come back for an even higher, for even bigger sum to go to court.
And the rates go up.
okay. So does the board have any more questions? Does anyone wish to make a motion
Would that be to approve the second one?
to approve whichever one you want to make a motion for? I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
Wish to make an approval, a proposal. I wish to
Make a
propose
motion?
that make a motion that we approve option number 2, which is to purchase the Swift in Marshall and Swift program for a single user for $1,500 and pay. Oh,
That's all you have to say.
Okay, perfect. And that is all.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. 4-0. For generic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, unfinished business, we need to approve the update to the personnel policy. This is for the police department. Jeanette sent everybody a copy of the revision as a standalone, and then there's also a copy of the policy with this information embedded into it. So, does anybody have any questions about it or comments? I worked on this, the language for this with Randy Johnson, so that we could get it in a form that would be consistent with the current policy. Essentially what this is doing is instead of having one differential for evening and one for weekends, it's making a single differential that will apply in all instances. So you won't get a double shift differential for a weekend evening. It's simplified the program.
Is that right?
Yeah, 2:30 hours, so 2:30 a.m.
That's what. So 2:45 is not there's not the evening.
That's early shift.
That's morning.
That's
Oh,
all, yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the personnel policy of the pay differential for the police department.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Word, that's what I-
Update on the town hall refrigerator. Dan, I think that's you. What?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Could every, the board that's here sign
Oh,
that?
that's right, okay.
Copy?
Okay. All right. Sign on your line. Okay, and then Dan's going to talk to us, pass it to Joe. And then that, Joe, that can go to Jeanette.
Today, the town ordered a true double-door commercial refrigerator from A Best Kitchen. We got the price to $3,912.63, down from the first quote we had for like $4,500. It was ordered, check was sent out today, and as soon as they receive the check, we'll know when it's going to be delivered.
Okay. Did, if memory serves, there were other models that were being looked at
Yeah,
one point?
we
Did you
we
check?
We looked at 3 or 4 different models.
And why was this chosen opposed to those?
Our repair person thought the True was the best one, and being we had a problematic refrigerator. From my experience in the business, I have 8 refrigerators in my store. Had I purchased the store with True refrigerators, I wouldn't be having the problems that I have now. It's the best in the industry.
Okay, great. So we had already voted to approve this, so this is just really informational.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And then, yes? Yes, that's okay. You need a shoe to throw at me, so you know.
No, I was just curious, Dan, how are we going to dispose of the current refrigerator?
Well, you're going to call Steve Sapinski and put it outside, and he'll take it. Because it's all stainless steel, so he'll love it.
Or we could just
I
take
mean,
it.
should we keep it until it actually no longer is functioning?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But you're wasting money. Anytime you buy something new, it is far more efficient than the old stuff. This one runs on R209, which is propane. I have the newer machines that I've gotten use much less energy. So in essence, you're not saving anything, you're wasting money.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, well, sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, you just put it, when they're taking it out, we just take it to the dump, put it in the
Yeah.
metal basket.
Correct.
I would prefer that than waiting for Steve to pick it up.
I agree.
So that's where,
So we just need to make sure that,
it was me personally, I would try to sell it to somebody. But I personally, this is the town, tell them what's wrong with it, maybe someone will buy it, we'll get
Can't be
$100,
fixed.
$200.
It's actually illegal to use it because once
Right.
you
So
add,
then there's your answer, so just bring it to the dump.
once you add refrigerant to something, it's against the Department of Environmental Conservation
There you go.
because you didn't fix the problem for the leak.
okay.
And you can't fix it because it's in the door, in
Okay,
the
so
sidewall.
we don't
So it's
really need to
junk.
keep having this
No.
conversation because we already know the answer.
Thanks
So,
for that knowledge drop.
yeah, right. So we're going to, when we have a delivery scheduled, talk to Travis
Right.
about bringing it down and leaving it at the metal.
Mhm.
Put it in the middle.
And if
Okay.
it doesn't fit through the door, we tilt it on its side when we bring it in.
It should fit through that door. That's a bigger door.
If we have to tilt it to bring it in, it might be easy to take it up the lift or
The ramp.
the ramp.
Okay.
When you bring it in, you have to.
Well, you know what? I'm going to leave that to the people who are delivering it. They know more about it than I
They're going to
do.
drop it off outside. It's a commercial.
They're not
thing.
going to deliver it in?
No, they drop it off outside. Commercial stuff, nobody delivers it.
Curbside.
So when we bring it in, Travis and the rest of us, it must stand up for 3 hours before you plug it in, so that all the refrigerant will go down into the compressor.
Well, I will let you have that conversation with Travis.
I would be happy to.
For
And
fantastic.
Dave.
Okay. All right. So have we exhausted that point of conversation?
I certainly hope so.
Me too. Jeanette, did you have a question? You're looking befuddled.
No, it's my internet connection keeps
Oh.
jumping all over the place.
Oh, sorry.
That's my issue, sorry.
Okay, so then we have the DRB reappointment letter for myself. The letter was submitted by John Pryl, who's the vice chair of the DRB. I would normally write the letter, but I'm not going to nominate myself. So, assuming you're willing, I would entertain a motion to approve the reappointment of Sarah Shippee.
I second the motion.
I can't make the motion. Somebody else
Okay,
has to make the motion.
I make the motion that we reappoint Sarah Shippee to head the DRB.
Second.
I third it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So 301. I'm recused.
Or you just,
And
are you
just as-
abstaining or are you saying no?
I'm saying, I'm recusing, I'm not participating. And just as a point of order, I'm not being nominated to be chair, I'm just being nominated back to the board. The board has to actually vote me back
I
in as
got you.
chair.
Okay.
So, okay. So a motion to approve the minutes of June 1st, 4th, and 7th, which meetings were the four of us here for?
You were all here on June 1st.
Okay,
I believe it was just Dan
Right.
that was missing from the 4th and the 7th. Those
okay,
were the two executives.
right. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 1st.
Move that we approve the minutes from June 1st.
Second?
Second, Dan seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then a motion to approve the minutes of June 4th and 7th. Dan needs to abstain.
I abstain.
So Scott or Joe?
I move that we approve the minutes from June 4th and 7th.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, so that's 301. And then approve the warrants for June 12th for $244,797.77. Somebody got to make a motion.
I make a motion that, I have the number.
You can just say as, I move,
I move as stated for
yes,
Saturday.
there you go.
Approve the warrants.
Okay. Or so moved, I guess is the right name. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. There's FYIs, our special meeting is June 18th at 9 a.m. for the board to, executive session to do employee evaluations. The first concert, summer concert is June 27th at 2 p.m., the Miles Band at Dover Park. That's a Sunday. Do we have any liaison reports?
Yes.
Okay, go for it, Scott.
All right, so I went and met with John about the sign. Oh, well, actually, no, sorry, scratch that. I spoke to him on the phone about the sign, meant to meet with them. And before we talk about the sign, though, he just wanted to make sure, and I told him to reach out to Travis about, he's not going to put any furniture or anything like that on there, and he wants to put in the outlets in the outside wall. And I was wondering does he need our board approval or just need Travis? So he's not gonna like drill into the wall or anything like that, but he wants to put them out there for the grant they got.
Joseph?
I thought we decided we were gonna
Hold on.
it's outside. Can we hear?
Jeanette?
I thought the last discussion we had,
Yes.
Travis said to hold off on anything outside the building because of the well situation.
Right.
It's not happening.
So he cannot, so it needs to be conveyed to him that he may not
Needs to wait.
do that.
Not
Not at this
Not even
time.
the outlets in the wall.
Nothing.
Correct.
Okay, alright, so to see traps in it. So anyway, the other thing was that I went and asked about the sign, and they said that I have the person that did it, and he was stressing that, you know, it wasn't up to him, and that it was the board's choice whether or not we add to the sign, but that the people was Dennis and Deb from Dummerston, and that if we so wish to get something added or whatever, or ask them how we could add to the sign, he thought that they would, you know, be able to add to it and keep it looking as great as it does now.
Okay. So you have their contact information?
Yes.
Okay. So
So
I
I
guess,
could reach out to them if you want to see what, if once we decide what we would like on there, I said like, you know, a little arch thing. Obviously, you're limited with how much you can put stuff below just because of the snow, and that was the issue they had last time, it just rotted out.
so at some point, we need to have a conversation about some more particular information about how we want the sign to be, to be altered. And then maybe go to them with a kind of a wish list.
Yeah, he said that
Like-
it was the board's choice.
Right, but we may come up with an idea and the people who made the sign may say that's a bad idea for X, Y, and Z reason. So I
Sure.
think we're talking about kind of what we would like to see, and then seeing from the perspective of the people who made the sign if that's a feasible or appropriate way to do it, or if they would recommend something different. But I think we need to start with what we want to actually put on the sign.
I also did
Joe,
extend.
did you have something to say? Because you look like you have a lot of thoughts.
Doing nothing.
Dan, I'm gonna have to defer to what Dan said, that right at this moment, that we leave the sign as is. I don't, unless kids in the country daycare wants to do something, the only thing, if we could, have on top something that says the Dover
Comment?
comment. That's all we need, Scott, if you reach out to them.
Okay.
Some sort of artwork. I'd love to have something that at least they know that this is the Dover comment,
Okay.
just to reiterate. Because it sounds like we can't put a town hall sign out there, but maybe the Dover comment, and maybe, you know, some place to put a slot, Dover Town Hall, kids in the country, to incorporate those two signs. That's all we need to do. We don't need to make this like a big
Right.
to do. But right now, no one has a problem. No one's coming to us. Kids in the country doesn't care.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm fine with doing nothing until someone comes. Now, it will be in the paper. Maybe someone will come at the next meeting and have ideas, and they can go out and do something else.
Okay. So you're talking about something like that?
Beautiful. Sarah, you got the artwork done. Send it out.
It's not going to show up on there, but basically it's just an arched piece at the very top of the sign
Right.
that says the Dover Common.
Right.
And then what we may want to just ask them is if we wanted to, because their sign is here, how far down, if there was a desire to put other words, you know, other
Yeah,
entities
plaques
on
and
there, how far down would be reasonable before we get into issues with the snow?
Right.
So you got all that? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Joe,
Do we have a legal sign there now, Miss?
have they done their
Have
permit?
they
Legal?
done the sign permit?
The permit is not legal. There is no, they're still in violation. They
So
started the process of inquiring to the select board.
They're not in violation. The
No,
town
the
of
town
Dover
itself,
is.
the town of Dover is.
So
Right.
Where
it's
they
either
instigated the
Travis
violation.
Or, whatchamacallit, just need to put in a sign application so that we're valid. So I can reach out to Travis, or Scott can reach out to Travis, just put the sign permit in.
Do you
Just
do
have
that?
it there.
I said, why would Travis put in the sign for that? It's not his sign.
Well, it's not,
It's
it's
his
technically the
building.
town sign.
And then he oversees the buildings.
Right. Building management.
I can put the sign permit, I'll fill it out and put my name on it. It just needs to be done.
Can I ask
The
Eric a
sign permit
question?
that they filled out had the town's minimum information, but it was not approved by the town. So we could actually amend the permit with a letter that says the town is approving the sign on the property with such and such verbiage change. We wouldn't necessarily have to go through the whole cycle again. I would be perfectly happy doing that.
Make the sign
Right.
awesome.
I think that whatever we can do that, to simplify the process is probably the best
Yeah.
approach.
Reach out.
Did you have something you wanted to ask or say?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Eric something. Is that possible?
Um,
Eric, you still up?
Sleeping.
Eric,
Hello, Eric, are you there?
I'm here.
We agreed to the Carnage Con concerts and so forth, but it doesn't really tell you what they're doing.
I think that was in the original. Oh, Eric, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There he is.
Eric.
No,
Oops, there he is.
there he is.
Hi, Eric.
The Carnage Con, it's going to be concerts and fun, it says.
Outside.
Could you give me a little idea what it is? We approved it, but just curious.
Oh,
Eric, I'm not getting your audio.
I don't think he said anything yet.
yeah,
Do you want me to
Hang
help?
on.
Can you hear me?
No, it's him, but we can't hear.
Shannon?
Yeah.
Eric, we're
getting your audio.
we're not picking you up.
Oh, Shannon can hear me. Shannon, can you talk?
How about, can Shannon answer the question?
Well, I can hear Eric.
Shannon.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Shannon.
Can you guys hear me?
Hang on a sec, let me try something.
Shannon?
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Hey!
And now we can hear Eric.
Well, that's weird because I could hear Eric the whole time.
Oh, wow, that's strange.
The whole group's muted.
So could you tell me something about Carnage Con?
Well, only that I don't have anything with me, and we approved it last year. They applied with an update for a smaller event, and this was their first payment from it. So I don't have those documents on me at home, but I can certainly resend them to you guys tomorrow.
Okay, just curious. I remember it
It's
and requesting it. but
tabletop
I'm-
gaming. So they.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
So
Thanks.
Thank you. Go back to sleep.
they weren't sleeping. They were working. Do we have any
They
other
were
liaison?
talking.
Do we have any other liaison reports? Okay. Just as an FYI, I believe Mount Snow is going to be holding Oktoberfest again this year, but only as a one-day event.
Same thing with Brewers Fest.
And the
Much more
Wine and
skill.
Harvest Festival is gonna happen to also. So, do we have any need for executive session? Nope. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
I didn't move, but Dan moved and Joe seconded. And we are
7:25.
adjourned,
And I'm stopping recording.
stopping recording at 7:23.